Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Military Money Mistakes Live. Trevor Maxwell here. It's my first one all by myself, so feeling like a big boy today. I hope everybody's doing well. And last time we did one, we had some technical issues. I was learning how to use StreamYard a little better, but I think I figured a lot of that stuff out. So appreciate everybody coming on today. Today, I kind of wanted to talk about something that, uh, this is a topic that I spent the last 5 years doing this stuff for a living. And over that time, working with hundreds of people, this is kind of, the whole genesis of military money mistakes is the fact that, a lot of the things that I've seen, they seem to repeat over and over again. And I think it's very telling that um, it just continues to happen year after year after year. But so I wanted to talk about the root causes of some of those things today, and that's what it's called, the top three things holding up your financial success. But before we get into that, real quick, again, to the beta cohort, I'm still interviewing people for that. I'm still looking for 15 to 20 people. I already have several people that have signed up and set up calls to be a part of that. And so if you do want to be a part of that, I'm going to drop the link in here that you can use to set up a call. And there's some questions in there. Fill that out. We'll hop on a call, make sure it's a good fit, and I'll put that right there. Click on that link, set it up if you're interested. All I'm asking for is to go through the material with us and provide me feedback, and after that you'll have access to it for the rest of your life, or as long as it keeps going. But anyways, so now we've kind of gotten through that. We talk about the top things that keep people from achieving financial success, or whatever the buzzword is. There's a ton of them out there. It's not what most people think. A lot of people, when you say like, oh, these are the things that are keeping you from financial success or whatever, they think that you're going to tell them, oh, well, you're not invested in the right stock, or you don't have real estate or whatever. I mean, those are kind of effects of the things that I'm going to talk about today. I want to go a little deeper into that and, talk about what are the root causes of some of those things, because it doesn't, really, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, the decisions that you make after that. You have to take care of these three things first if you're going to be successful. And so that, I talk to tons of people, it's not making more money. It's not buying the right stock. I talk to tons of people that make six-figure salaries and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. And that's kind of what motivated me to get into this coaching model, more than anything, right? So the big thing is you have to be able to take full advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And some other things on top of that, knowledge without action is wasted, right? So we're going to talk about some of these things today so you know it, but then we're also going to have some calls to action in there, some little things for you to hopefully take away, and maybe you'll do these things after we go through this today. But we'll get into them. We'll try to make this short and sweet, not long like the last one went pretty long, but we're going to keep it short and sweet today. First and foremost, it's not about any of that extraneous stuff. All three of these things have to do with you, right? You are your biggest opponent. You're your biggest ally when it comes to this stuff too. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your mindset. You have to visualize, what does success look like for me? Because if you don't think about, like, if you're trying to do land nav or go on vacation, but you don't even know where it is that you're going, like, how can you reasonably come up with a plan for how to get there if you don't know where you want to be? So that's the first step. You have to define what success looks like for you. And then the other piece with that, on top of that, to go along with the mindset is you have to prioritize. This has to be a priority for you, because if it's not, you're not going to pay any attention to it, and it's not going to be successful. And it goes with anything, whether it's, working out or dieting or, anything. You want to learn a new skill, guess what? It has to be a priority for you. It has to be front and center every day, all the time, right? So, I guess the best advice I can give with that is like every day you have to make the decision that, yes, this is a priority for me in my life. And then the next piece after that is you have to be consistent with your effort. That's probably where, that's the single link in the chain there where that fails first. Consistency. Same thing too. I just saw it today. I went to after the first of the year, uh, I went to the gym and it was ridiculously crowded. There was all the New Year resolutioners in there. Oh, this is my year. I'm going to get in shape. Here we are 3 weeks later. I went in there today and it was, to me, it was perfect, right? There was maybe, I don't know, 10 to 20% of the people that were in there at the beginning of the year. It's like, yes, this is how I like the gym to be, right? Because all of those people, guess what? Consistency went right out the window. And to kind of drive home the importance of that, I wanted to go through this. And I know this is something that I've shared before, and you've probably seen it as well. I call it the law of compounding effort. I don't know if somebody else may call it something, but if you put in the same amount of effort every day consistently, you're going to get the same result. However, when you take that little extra step, you put that tiny little extra effort in every day, the results are astounding, right? So we went from 1 to the 365th power equals 1. It's always going to be that way, right? But that second that you add that little hundredth of an extra effort, to the 365th power, look at the difference there, 37.78. Now, I'm just trying to give you an example of, this is what happens when you are consistent with everything that you do, right? When you make that choice every day and say, yes, this is going to be a priority for me. I'm going to do this. I'm committed to this. I'm going to be successful. So the thing that I don't like about this is a lot of times this right here is where people stop. They stop right at the 37.78. Oh yeah, if you just do that little tenth of an extra effort for a year. What they don't talk about is what happens when you keep going past that, when you go past that 1 year. What happens when you do that consecutively consistently for 2 years? What does that look like? Well, a lot of people would say, well, yeah, obviously it's going to be 75.56, right? Because that's 2 times 37.78. No, it's actually, hopefully this blows your mind as much as it did mine when I actually nerded out on this years ago and got the calculator out and looked at it, right? So if we do that consistently for 2 years, oh, wow. That's staggering when you look at that. I mean, I didn't even think that, what is that? Probably like a 500, what would that even be? I don't know. Probably about a 500% increase, 4 or 500% increase, 4,000 maybe. But look at that. I mean, wow, that's crazy. The difference between doing it for 2 years consistently and just doing it for 1 year consistently. Obviously, you have to start here, right? This is another big thing that a trap that a lot of people fall into is they always say, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I have too much other stuff going on right now. I'll do it later. Well, guess what? Every time that you delay that and do it later, you're losing time, right? The sooner you start, yes, it's hard. I get it. I've done it myself, right? I've forced myself to be disciplined with some of this stuff and consistent, and the results are staggering. But now you keep going. You take it even another year past that. What does that look like? Oh, wow. That little bit of extra effort every day for 3 years straight. Look at the results there. I mean, I know this is just a math problem, but I think the lesson is that translates over to life, right? Every time you elevate yourself, right, you're starting over from a little bit further along than you were before. And that allows you to achieve a lot greater success than you had before. So I kind of hope the analogy there sticks out with people, the importance of consistency. I'm reminded of one of my favorite sayings. It goes to discipline leads to habits, habits lead to consistency, consistency leads to growth. So if you take anything away today from that, please take that, right? Get started now, be consistent with your effort, continue to keep pushing, and the longer you do it, the better your success is going to be. What's the second thing? Okay, your knowledge. Obviously, we can't just go out there and operate in the dark. We can't just start doing things without at least having a little bit of an idea what we're doing. Sometimes we learn by making mistakes, right? That's another one that I always liked, right? Good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. That's another one of my all-time favorites. But when we're talking about, how do you become successful with your finances? Uh, what I'm talking about specifically here when we're talking about knowledge is learn how money works, right? Learn about finance, basics of personal finance. Because what this does is this enables you to make decisions based on knowledge instead of emotions. That's what happens most of the time. That's why all these gurus out there have achieved so much success, because they're appealing to you. They're making emotional appeals to you. And they know, obviously, you don't know how money works. It's no big secret that, education on personal finance is virtually non-existent for the majority of Americans. So what do? Hey, I just make emotional appeals to these people. I look at the things that they're afraid of and I talk about them and I offer them a solution. Um, to me, that doesn't really work on me because I understand like how money works and I know how to use it to my advantage. I use it as a tool. It's the shirt that I'm wearing today, right? Stop working for your money, start making it work for you. That's what I do, and that's what I try to teach people how to do, because now you're making the best decision possible, instead of what you think or what you feel, despite not knowing anything about it. So once you learn about how money works, your decision making process gets a lot better. And so I guess a good call to action for that, you have to get started somewhere. Where do you begin? Well, me personally, I think a great place to start is probably reading the greatest book about personal finance that was ever written, in my opinion. Go read uh, Richard. Go read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And then there's another book on top of that. After you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it gets more specific into, because he's a big on real estate, but he talks about the mindset, which I think is really important. The two different frames of mind that his rich dad had versus his poor dad, and what he learned from each of them, right? He talks about that. Yeah, I learned all this great stuff to do from my rich dad, but I also learned an equally important amount of stuff from my poor dad, more specifically, what not to do. And then the other book that I really like, The Power of Zero by David McKnight. I think he has a lot of good information in there about, focusing in on things that are really important. And it's not based on emotions either, right? So that's, to me, that's important, right? I'm not, I'm not getting into the emotional stuff. I understand, and we'll talk about that eventually. There is an emotional component to this stuff, right? Because it affects the way that we live our lives. So, um, you know, those are two really good books. And then eventually, when it comes out, one of these days, I know it's going to happen eventually. Uh, Make sure I'll put you on the list. Military Money Mistakes, the book. That's a ways off, so you don't have to read it right now because it doesn't even exist yet. So this one here too. I think this is another super important thing. This is the third thing, right? So we talked about your mindset. We talked about your knowledge. Well, let's talk about another thing that I think causes a lot of people to fail: your sphere of influence. And I know some people, what do you mean your sphere of influence? Don't you mean your circle of influence? I mean, no, right? The sphere, the all encompassing, who's above and below and all around you, your sphere of influence. And, that's the one I think that gets most people in trouble. And it's not always intentional, too. There's a lot of, we talk about that right there. There's the barracks and lawyers, or in the Navy, we call them the sea lawyers. There's, oh, my buddy told me this. There's the gurus out there who, I'm going to dedicate an entire episode of this just on them. So I won't talk about it too much, but I'll go further into that when I have more time to discuss it. And probably the worst one, the social media groups. I can't tell you how many times over the last 5 years, dozens of people that I've been working with that get led astray because I spend 3 or 4 hours with them talking about this stuff and showing them like, hey, this is how this all fits into the big picture. And then they say, well, my wife saw this on a Facebook group that this lady told her to do this, or my husband, whatever. And, and it just, it's frustrating to see that, here's a person that I've sat down with and talked about and showed them these things. And then it's just what it is, right? I understand that. If you work in this industry and you can't deal with, hey, you have to build that trust. That's paramount when you're working with somebody. They have to know and believe that you're acting in their best interest to help them solve a problem that they have. Then, I've done it enough now to where I get it. I understand where it comes from, right? They're trying to do the best thing. Unfortunately, they're putting their trust in somebody on a Facebook group who maybe they've never talked to before, who, maybe they're a sea lawyer or their buddy told them this. But anyways, steering away from people who don't do this stuff for a living that you don't trust. I talk to this when I talk to people about who should I listen to. Honestly, the best advice I can give is to go find a professional who does this stuff, not a media personality, not one of those people that you see on Fox News or whatever. Because the problem with that is they're just going out and they're putting out all this stuff. Again, they're making emotional appeals, right? Talk to somebody that you can build an actual relationship with. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you can't talk to that person directly, like if you see them on YouTube and you contact them, you go on their website, you contact them, and then they have somebody else reach out to you, maybe that's not bad. Maybe they're trying to set up a call. Maybe they're trying to set up a call with that person. But if you never actually get to talk to that person, then, hey, what's up, Matt? Matt Reese, a good buddy of mine. Got our Bronze Stars together in Afghanistan. What was that? 12 years ago? Jesus, now I feel old. I'm glad to see you too, and I'll definitely catch up with you. But to get back to that point, right? If you don't actually get to talk to that person, don't even bother. Go find somebody who you can actually talk to. And shameless plug here, actually, if you can't talk to them directly, take their advice with a grain of salt. But you can talk to me directly. So just click on that link up there in the comments section. Wink, wink. So, those are the three, really, to me, the three things. Those are the root causes of why people don't achieve financial success. And, if you think about it, go back, watch this again, watch it 5 or 6 times. Go on the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Military Money Mistakes. Hit like and subscribe and click that little button so you get notifications every time we have new content. I'm practicing that for when I'm starting to, when I start to roll out the YouTube videos. But for everybody who is here right now, I appreciate you guys checking in with me. I hope this was useful information, and I hope if you found something useful in there, share it with somebody else who didn't get to see this, because that's what I love to do. I love to share information. So, again, too, I just wanted to send out another reminder about the beta cohort. The link is there to set up a call if you're interested in being part of that. Again, too, no cost to you. All I ask is that you participate and give me feedback so that I can make it better. So down the road, when the official coaching program launches, you're able to take advantage of it. So appreciate everybody coming in, and stay tuned next week. It'll be a live session. It'll probably be a recording because I'm going out and doing some stuff with a nonprofit that I volunteer with occasionally. We're going to talk about why I think coaching is the best mode of financial advice for a lot of people. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow Military Money Mistakes LinkedIn page. I'm going to start putting some more stuff out. I know I've been slacking on my daily posts, but Scott Tucker and I, US Vet Wealth, have been working on some really good stuff. And, it's just a lot of learning and getting all these things set up. But I'm hoping here in the next month or so, we're just going to shove it down your throat. Not literally, but you're going to see more about it. And it's so really cool. It's something that I don't think I've ever seen anybody else that, in this industry do before. So appreciate everybody. And feel free to reach out to me if you got questions. Hit me up here on LinkedIn. I live on here. It's always, that tab's always open on my computer during the day. And look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.